For spine-chilling true spring break tales. Sinister discoveries of haunted vacations exposed. The Johnson family pulled into the driveway of their rental house in Crestview. Excitement bubbling in the air like carbonation in a shaken soda. With sweeping ocean views and the promise of sun-soaked days ahead, it felt like the perfect getaway. Yet, beneath the laughter hid a hint of something unsettling, like a chill sneaking up behind them. Mark, a diligent accountant, and Lisa, a devoted nurse, exchanged glances, a shadow of doubt flickering in their eyes. That first night, as they settled in, the wind whispered through the cracks, its eerie tone carrying faint echoes of laughter from nowhere. Felt like the house was breathing, alive, watching. Tucking the kids in, Samantha pointed out strange carvings on the vintage furniture, etchings that twisted and warped, almost as if they were trying to tell a story. A shiver ran through the family, but they brushed it aside. After all, nothing could ruin their vacation, right? As day 3 dawned, winter's grip shattered. Samantha collapsed, feverish and pale, her eyes haunted by darkness that threatened to swallow her whole. The faces of her family twisted with worry as Lisa searched in vain for a first aid kit. Instead, she stumbled upon tear-stained postcards hidden in a drawer, each a chilling plea, begging, "Get out while you still can." Panic rose, twisting their hearts with dread. What had they stumbled into? The cheerful surf shops along the beach felt like a facade, masking an undercurrent of fear that crackled between the local smiles. The elderly shopkeeper offered stories that curled like smoke. A guardian spirit turned vengeful specter, haunting the sands where laughter once thrived. It felt like they were caught in a tale not meant for them, a lore breeding suspicion, soaking into their bones. The nights dragged on, smothered by whispers that crawled like spiders across their skin. Shadows crept from the corners, tightening around the house as Samantha's condition grew worse. Every heartbeat echoed with dread, urging them to find a way out. Their trust eroded like sandcastles before an unforgiving tide. Too many unanswered questions suffocating the air. Heart pounding, they returned to their rental, but panic ensued when they discovered the rent-a-car was gone. Were they being watched? An unseen force tightened its grip, sealing their fate in a house that felt less like a vacation home and more like a prison. Each moment slipped away, dragging them deeper into despair. The once friendly shopkeeper's eyes glinted with something dark. Was it delight in their suffering or knowledge they'd never grasp? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they huddled together in the darkening room, Samantha's body trembled, her breaths ragged, like the waves crashing ominously outside. A desperate question hung in the air. Could they unravel the house's secrets before being consumed by the darkness surrounding them? The last rays of sunlight sank beneath the horizon, stretching shadows that reached out, promising to take them all. What horrific truths awaited them, and could they escape before it was too late? The house creaked ominously, like the bones of a beast waking from a long slumber. Lisa's heart raced as she positioned herself closer to Samantha, the touch of her hand cold as ice against her daughter's clammy skin. The dim light of the setting sun cast long shadows across the room, transforming the familiar into the unknown. She could feel the air grow heavier, each breath a laborious effort as she fought to keep her panic at bay. "Mom, I'm scared," Samantha whispered, her voice laced with a trembling vulnerability that shattered Lisa's resolve. "I know, sweetheart. Just hold on. We'll get through this." Mark shuffled nervously beside them, clenching and unclenching his fists, his mind racing for a solution. The itch of dread nestled deep in his gut, churning ominously like a storm on the horizon. Suddenly, the wind outside howled louder, drowning out their thoughts with a banshee-esque wail. It rattled the windows like angry fists demanding entrance. A fleeting shadow flitted past the doorframe, barely noticeable but enough to make Mark's heart jump into his throat. "Did you see that?" he said, voice barely above a whisper. "See what?" Lisa asked, eyes darting toward the door, muscles tense like a coiled spring. He swallowed hard, trying to shake off the sensation creeping down his spine. "Nothing. Just thought I saw someone." A low groan emanated from the depths of the house, a sound that echoed like the lament of the forsaken. Fear rippled through the family, as they instinctively drew closer together, a singular unit against the encroaching darkness. "Let's check the house. Maybe we're just imagining things," Mark suggested, his voice betraying the uncertainty that lay within him. With cautious steps, he led the way, stepping into the claustrophobic hallway where shadows pooled like ink. They moved through the house, the floorboards creaking beneath their feet as if protesting their presence. Every closet door and room felt like a potential hiding place for the unknown. Lisa's breath hitched as they approached a room at the end of the hall, its door slightly ajar, as if enticing them to enter. "Should we?" Samantha whispered, her eyes wide and terrified. Mark nodded, though his heart raced faster. "We have to." As he pushed the door open, the hinges squealed, the sound cutting through the cold silence like a knife. The room was empty, dust motes dancing lazily in the fading light. But on the floor, an old diary lay open. Mark picked it up, flipping through the yellowed pages filled with frantic scrawls. The ink was barely legible, yet one phrase stood out, chilling his blood. "They come for me when it gets dark. Beware." Lisa and Samantha huddled closer, peering over his shoulder. "Who?" Lisa muttered, scanning the pages for more clues. The urgency spiked as Marcus' hand trembled. A sudden crash rattled the window behind them, and they jolted, every nerve screaming to flee. The air shifted, heavy with dread, something malignant creeping ever closer. Their eyes darted back to the diary, realizing they had stumbled upon a warning, a plea that had gone ignored for too long. What if Samantha started? But her voice trailed off, fear clenching around her small throat. Mark felt a cold dread wash over him, his mind racing. "We're not safe here. We need to leave now." But as they turned, the shadows in the room thickened, swirling around them, drenching the air in malevolence. The door shut forcefully, trapping them in an inescapable darkness. Panic seized them, and they hammered on the door, desperate for freedom. The whispers grew louder, wrapping around them like tendrils, filling their ears with incoherent murmurs. "Help! Someone!" Lisa screamed, but the only response was the echo of their voices swallowed by the oppressive black. Could they escape the darkness clawing at their sanity? Would they unravel the truth before becoming another sad entry in that cursed diary? The creeping horror coiled tighter, and the looming question hung heavy in the air. What had they awoken in that house, and would they be the next victims of its sinister history? The darkness engulfed them, an unyielding, suffocating force pressing against their chests. Each heartbeat thundered in Lisa's ears as she felt the walls close in, their very breath stolen by the encroaching malaise. No light, no comfort, only encroaching doom. Mark pounded against the door, desperation bubbling in his throat. "Let us out. This isn't funny." His voice cracked at the end, teetering on the verge of true terror. A sinister laugh echoed back, a hollow, mocking sound that slithered through the cracks like smoke. Lisa glanced at Samantha, her daughter's eyes wide, shimmering with tears that seemed to catch the last faint rays of the fading day. "Mom, I can't see. I can't breathe. Just hold on to me. I won't let go," Lisa assured, her voice firm, though the tremor betrayed her fear. She pulled Samantha closer until she felt the warmth of her little body against her own. Something real in the midst of the surreal. The whispering grew louder, a cacophony of voices converging around them. Each syllable twisted, warped, filled with deep, malevolent intent. "Come play, come join us," they beckoned, as if inviting them to join something beyond this world. Mark froze, the words chilling him to the bone. "Who are you?" he shouted into the void, his defiance bouncing back eerily. The shadows pulsated, moving as if alive, shifting from familiar forms to nightmarish figures with hollow eyes that watched them. "Mom!" Samantha shrieked, pressing her face into Lisa's side. "I don't want to play." "Neither do I," Lisa replied, her voice a brittle thread. She felt her legs shake, threatening to buckle under the weight of impending dread. With a surge of will, Mark rushed toward the shadowy door, ready to break through it with sheer force, but as he reached for the doorknob, an icy breath swept past him. The temperature plummeted, and all light seemed snuffed out in an instant, leaving them in a thick, incomprehensible blackness. "Mark!" Lisa screamed, panic clawing at her throat. She felt his presence vanish into the void, lost among the dark. Another crash shook the house, a window shattered somewhere, glass raining down like teardrops of despair. They were not alone. The shadows grew denser, twisting into grotesque forms, voices blending into an agonized chorus. "Lost forever, Mark! Where are you?" Samantha cried, her voice breaking like glass, shards of terror slicing through the heavy darkness. An answering groan erupted from the abyss, swirling around them. It was loud, haunting the sound of wood creaking in agony, of despair trapped within walls. Something stirred nearby, dragging against the floor. "Please, just tell us what you want." Mark's voice came back, hoarse now. He was closer, but the worry in his tone only deepened Lisa's anxiety. Then silence. The abrupt stillness thickened, a pause before an onslaught. Something was coming, something malicious, and it was hungry that a low growl emanated from within the shadows, deep and resonant. An oppressive weight pressed down on them, as if the very air thickened with malice. Lisa's heart pounded in response, each beat pleading for escape. Then, like a sudden burst of lightning through a storm, the door swung open. Blinding light flooded in, illuminating the horrific scene. A moving shadow loomed at the threshold, monstrous and large, a figure both human and something else entirely. Samantha shrieked, her voice piercing the air as they stumbled backward, retreating into the cold fear that clung to them. "It's coming for us." Mark grabbed Lisa's arm, dragging her toward the blinding light, but that figure stepped inside, blocking their path, grinning with wicked glee. "Welcome home," it sneered, the voice grating like nails on a chalkboard as panic gripped their hearts. They turned to escape through the door, but it slammed shut with a decisive bang, sending echoes of finality through the shadows. Would they be forced to confront the monster in their home? Or could they uncover the secrets that trapped them before it devoured them whole? Their time was dwindling, and the true terror had only just begun. The air thickened with an overwhelming sense of dread, the very essence of fear swirling like a dark fog around them. Lisa's eyes, wide and frantic, darted around the oppressive space. Reflexively, she pulled Samantha closer, her arms a shield against whatever horror lay ahead. Mark stepped forward, a glimmer of defiance sparking in his eyes. "What do you want from us?" he demanded, voice trembling but resolute, echoing through the unsettling silence. The shadow, towering and grotesque, seemed to relish their terror. A grin unfurled too wide, too unnatural. The walls appeared to ripple, moving as if alive, breath heavy with whispers that crawled beneath their skin. "You have something we desire," the creature hissed, its voice dripping with malevolence. Lisa's heart raced, pounding against her ribs. What could we possibly have? She shot back, though her stomach churned and her throat felt tighter with each word. "Your souls," it nearly sang, an inhuman delight dancing in its tone. "So pure, so ripe for the taking." Mark clenched his fists, summoning what courage he had left. "We're not yours for the taking," he shouted, but the shadows moved closer, wrapping around their ankles, creeping up their legs like suffocating vines. Samantha whimpered softly, her little fingers tightening around her mother's hand. "Mom, I'm scared," she whispered, her voice barely audible, a haunting melody in the darkness. "Stay with me, sweetheart," Lisa whispered back, fighting down the rising panic. Time felt muddled, but her instincts screamed for them to act, to break free before it was too late. Suddenly, the room was filled with a cacophony of snarls, and the monstrous figure lunged forward, eyes gleaming with hunger. It reached for Mark, who, in a split second of panic, stumbled back against the wall. The impact rattled him, but he quickly steadied himself, his resolve hardening. "Run!" Mark yelled, and with that command, they turned as one, barreling towards the door. But the air felt heavy, each step dragging under the weight of unseen forces, threatening to pull them back. The figure laughed, a sound that dripped with disdain. "You think you can escape? You are already part of this place forever." As they flung themselves against the door, it stood unyielding. Mark pounded on it, desperation renewed. "Open! Damn it! Open!" But the laughter grew louder, roiling through the room and turning their breaths shallow. Lisa felt her courage wavering. What if they were trapped? The thought clawed at her sanity, and her heart raced uncontrollably. "Mom!" Samantha's voice cut through the chaos, urgent and terrified. With another heave, Mark pushed against the door, redeploying all his weight. A creak echoed back, the hinges groaning under the force. Then, in a blinding moment, something shifted. The door swung just a fraction, a sliver of hope illuminating the thick darkness. Lisa could see a vague outline of the staircase leading down into a dimly lit corridor beyond. "Go, now!" she shouted. They poured through the opening just as the shadow lunged again, its claws grazing Mark's shirt. The fabric ripped, a testament to the closeness of peril. They stumbled into the corridor, heartbeats thrumming violently. But the air was still tinged with the dread following closely behind. Blind terror coursed through their veins as they darted down the passage. The shadows clung to the walls, whispering names, crooning songs of despair. Yet, beneath the oppressive fear, another sound emerged scratching. Something else was in the darkness. "Keep moving," Mark urged, and they pushed onward, the fear morphing into instincts of survival. But as they rounded a corner, a chilling realization struck. The corridor stretched endlessly, unyielding and twisting like a labyrinth. Where were they? Behind them, the shadows shifted again, congealing into an amorphous shape, eyes glowering with hunger. "You can't hide, you belong to us," it sang, the echo haunting them as dread coiled tightly in their chests. With a determination surging, they sprinted toward a distant glimmer of light. But the sound of their journey echoed back. Would it lead them to safety, or deeper into the abyss? As they reached the light, Lisa gasped, heart hammering. What lay beyond that glow? Was it freedom or another trap? All hope hung in the balance, and in those breathless seconds, one question lingered. Would they find an escape from the dark horrors pursuing them, or was this just the beginning of their nightmare? The light flickered, casting long shadows that danced wickedly across the hard walls of the corridor. Lisa felt a moment of hesitation. What if it was just another ruse? But the shadows behind them were lunging forward, relentless in their hunger, and there was no time for doubt. "Mom, I don't want to go back," Samantha's plea echoed, her grip tightening painfully. Lisa swallowed hard, pushing down the fear clawing at her throat. "We have to, sweetheart," she breathed, her voice clipped and shaking. "Just keep holding on." Mark swept his arm around Lisa and Samantha, aligning them with the light ahead. They moved together, fueled by fear, the frantic beat of their hearts a desperate rhythm against the growing chaos behind them. In a moment that felt suspended, they stepped into the glow. It swelled, nearly blinding. The corridor seemed to drop away, revealing an expansive chamber that throbbed with an unnatural luminescence. "Where are we?" Lisa murmured, each breath drawing in the vibrating energy suffusing the air. But her question fell into the silence as they took in the surroundings. The chamber was filled with twisted sculptures formed out of shadows and light. Faces contorted in agony stood suspended in mid-motion, as if forever caught between the worlds of the living and the damned. At the center of it all, a massive altar rose, inscribed with symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat, slick with depth and menace. "Do you feel that?" Mark asked, stepping forward. It was a magnetic pull, begging them closer. The fear amplified, gnawing at their sanity. Before they could run, whips of darkness slithered around their ankles, binding them to the ground with an iron grip. You've come to the heart of our domain, a cold voice crooned from the shadows. A figure emerged, reeking of decay and despair. Its form was both solid and nebulous, tethered to the material world yet transcending it. You are in our realm now. Panic struck like lightning. Let us go. Lisa screamed as she struggled against the tightening coils, but the more she fought, the stronger their grip became. The altar craves your essence, the creature hissed, eyes flickering with unspeakable hunger. You must feed it before dawn. Otherwise, you shall become part of this darkness forever. Samantha shrank against her mother, the horror of understanding washing over her small face. Mom, I don't want to be a part of this. Desperation clawed in her voice. No, Mark shouted, adrenaline fueling a last surge of strength. We can't let them take us. We are not theirs. He tugged fiercely at his bonds, and though the darkness resisted, a crack began to run through the shimmering bindings. Run! Mark screamed again, but they needed to clutch the flickering light of hope. They had to reach the altar. It felt wrong, like a pact with the devil. But there was no other choice as they advanced toward the altar. The shadows screamed, a twisted symphony of torment surrounding them. They faltered, the whispers growing chaotic, mixing with their terrified breaths. The symbols began to glow brighter as they approached, an almost hypnotic dance captivating them. Don't look into the light, Lisa cried desperately, fighting the pull of the altar. But as soon as she uttered the words, her eyes betrayed her. The light grew unbearable, enveloping her completely, and just as she was about to succumb, a piercing scream resonated through the chamber. Samantha's voice, echoing with raw fear. Get away from her. In that instant, Lisa's vision blurred. The light dimmed, and everything changed. Chains of shadow unwound, and the altar pulsed as if alive, demanding something. Was it their souls? The walls trembled, releasing a cacophony of anguished wails as the energy surged, drawing upon their fear and desperation. Feeding on it like a vampire. In one frantic moment, clarity struck like a blade. They could use it against the creature, but would it be enough? Together, Mark shouted, focus on the light. They squeezed their eyes shut, harnessing their collective hope, shaping it into a weapon against the encroaching darkness. But as Lisa felt the rise of power, the shadow surged as well, sensing their resolve. You think you can command what you do not understand? You are more trapped than you realize. The chamber twisted around them, the walls folding in, and the creatures in the shadows roared in fury. What would happen if they failed? As the shadows twisted, tightening their grip, they could feel their chances slipping away. Would their light extinguish before it could take form? And in the midst of all that chaos, a single terrible truth loomed larger than the horror itself. Mom, don't let go. Samantha cried out, the terror in her voice igniting a fire within Lisa's chest. But just as they began to push against the darkness, an even darker shadow emerged, more profound and ruthless than the rest. It revealed itself slowly, a being of pure malice. Was this the master of the shadows? Would they ever escape its clutches? They held their breath. The climax was near, and in those heavy moments, one fear remained. Would they be consumed, or could they reclaim their light from the abyss? The darkness swirled, thick and heavy, as the being stepped from the shadows. It was a mass of black smoke, shape-shifting, a twisted reflection of their very fears. The shadows writhed around it like angry serpents. Fools! It whispered, voice cascading like ice through bone. You think you can challenge the abyss? This is your end. Lisa's heart raced. The creature's mere presence felt like 1,000 thorns piercing her mind, sowing panic in the soil of her soul. Each breath was a struggle. The air tasted of charred memories and despair. Mark squeezed Lisa's hand, his grip shaking. We need to fight it, he yelled, though his voice trembled, underscoring his uncertainty. Samantha cowered, still hiding behind her mother, her small form quaking with fear. Mom, what do we do? Samantha's voice quivered. Focus on the light, Lisa said, trying to project confidence despite her faltering resolve. The altar pulsed ominously, its deep throbbing in time with the chilling darkness. They needed to channel their fear into strength, to turn the tide before it swallowed them whole as darkness loomed closer, gnashing and gnawing at the edges of her mind. Lisa thought of every moment she had lived for this family. Every laugh, every late-night story, every fragile smile on Samantha's face. All was at stake. "Gather what we have," Mark shouted. "Use your love, your memories, your light." Lisa forced her eyes open, narrowing her focus. She recalled the day Samantha had taken her first steps, the way her little face lit up with joy, the way Mark had cheered her on. Those memories felt like sparks igniting in the void. Love was a weapon. They needed to wield it as they shared their memories aloud. The darkness wavered. No. The shadowy being screeched, the power shifting, pulling, twisting. The pressure of its malevolence fell like a lead weight, threatening to crush them into submission. But Lisa felt the warmth within her glow brighter. "Feel it," she gasped, adrenaline igniting her voice. "The light is stronger than this darkness." Together, they began to chant, their voices rising, weaving a tapestry of defiance. The symbols on the altar flared to life, bathing the chamber in brilliant radiance. Waves of energy rippled outwards, pushing back against the shadow. But the creature bellowed in rage, thrashing against their light. "Foolish mortals, you cannot comprehend the depths of this darkness." The words were venom, their bitterness attempting to unravel the fabric of their spirits. Fear clawed at Lisa's heart, the urge to break under the weight growing unbearable. Shadows crawled along the walls, taking on shapes a grotesque amalgamation of all their worst fears. Just as despair threatened to consume her, a memory burst forth. It was of a shared family dinner, laughter ringing through their home like music. She could practically smell the garlic bread, taste the sweetness of her daughter's happiness, feel the overwhelming love embracing them. "Feed off that," Lisa yelled, feeling a surge of power. "Remember our love. Remember our bond." With renewed vigor, they shouted into the void, pouring every ounce of hope, every joyful memory into the light. The brilliance intensified, the darkness recoiling from its searing glow. But then, something shifted again. The creature's laughter filled the air, sinuous and taunting. "You think you can defeat me with these petty illusions? Your hearts are nothing but fodder for the shadows." As it surged forward, tendrils of darkness whipped around Lisa, tightening their grasp. She could feel the shadow's breath on her neck, icy and rancid. Yet, even as dread ripped through her body, another memory emerged: Samantha's first day of school, that proud smile on her face, yearning for knowledge and adventure. "No!" Lisa screamed, summoned by a fierce determination. "You will take none of us." Just as their light burst in brilliance, illuminating the chamber, the creature shrieked, a sound of pure agony. Shadows vaporized, twisting in on themselves, hissing in defeat. But as power collided, the ground shook. Would their united strength push the darkness back, or unleash something even more terrifying? With a final rapturous roar, the center of the altar cracked open, jagged fissures spidering outward as the darkness distorted, revealing a teeming depth beneath. "What have you released?" Mark shouted, eyes wide with horror. "Only the beginning," Lisa whispered, dread worming into her chest as they faced the unknown. A new terrifying question loomed: what lay beneath the altar, waiting to be unleashed into their world? The air trembled as the fissures widened, a low rumble echoing through the chamber. The light from the altar flickered like a dying candle, battling against the encroaching shadows. "What's down there?" Mark's voice cracked, genuine fear etched across his face. Lisa could only shake her head in disbelief, her heart hammering against her ribs, the uncertainty paralyzing her. From the cracks emerged a dense, black fog, heavier than before. It slithered forth with an insidious hunger, curling around their ankles and invading their senses. The scent was sickening, like decay wrapped in ash. Each breath felt like inhaling the very suffering that had been buried here. "Stay together," Lisa shouted, rallying herself as much as her family. She could feel the malevolent pull of the shadow creature, eager to harvest their fear. "We have to keep fighting." Before they could react, the ground shook violently beneath them, jarring them off balance. Shadows twisted into horrifying visages, silhouettes of sorrow and regret that danced mockingly in the strobe of light. 1,000 voices whispered dreadful tales from the abyss, tales of tragedies long forgotten. "Mom, I'm scared," Samantha whimpered, her small body trembling. "I know, sweetheart," Lisa said, her voice steady despite the chill that clawed up her spine. "But we can't let it win. Remember our love." But the darkness was relentless. It surged forward, a wave of despair, pulling at the edges of their minds. Lisa closed her eyes, trying to focus on what mattered: her family. She recalled Samantha's laughter, the innocence of childhood, summer nights spent in their backyard, stars twinkling above like tiny promises. Then she thought of Mark, the steadfast rock beside her, the love and warmth they built together. "Focus," Mark yelled into the void, his voice drowning out the cacophony of despair. "Think of what we've built. Think of our future." His words triggered something powerful within Lisa. She opened her eyes, channeling every ounce of love she had into the light. Glimmers of hope began to pulse stronger, fueled by their shared memories. "Together," Lisa shouted, urgency wrapping around them like a protective cloak. They linked hands tighter, each pulse of light growing brighter as they recited precious memories. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the depths, tall and gaunt, shrouded in the black mist, its face obscured. A chill permeated the air as recognition washed over Lisa. It was a long-lost ancestor, someone she had never met but had heard dreadful stories about. Darkness had claimed the soul long ago, weaponizing her spirit in a twisted game of torment. "Foolish mortals," the figure wailed, blending anguish and fury. "You cannot reclaim what has been lost. This darkness is eternal." The chamber trembled again, and Lisa's chest tightened with fear. She could feel the shadows wrapping tighter like a vice. "We must force it back," she roared, the sounds of their memories igniting a fierce light. The symbols on the altar shone brighter, illuminating the creature's grotesque form. Just then the darkest shadows began to peel away, revealing fragments of truth embedded in its essence. Memories of pain mixed with moments of regret. The truth was here: the creature was fed by despair, and it was their love that became its antidote. "Take what you need from us," Mark screamed defiantly, the light glowing more intensely. "But you cannot take our love." With those words, the creature shrieked, flinging its tendrils outward in a frenzy, trying to blot out the light caressing its edges. But even as the luminosity spread, the ground shook almost menacingly, and the altar began to radiate waves of heat. Cracks transformed into fissures of glowing light, reminiscent of fire igniting within. "What's happening?" Samantha cried, eyes wide in fear. Lisa held her daughter close, the warmth of their bond sending strength through her soul. "Is fighting back," she replied, glancing around for any sign of escape. And just as the light reached a feverish crescendo, a sudden darkness swept over them, enveloping their world. In a shroud so thick, they could hardly see each other. "Prepare yourselves," Mark shouted against the chaos. A shuddering silence fell as they braced themselves, but then a voice echoed through the darkness, deep and reverberating. "You fear what you do not understand." What did it mean? The fear pooled in Lisa's stomach, drawing tighter as the tendrils writhed in the depths, ready to strike. A flicker of hope clashed with the terrifying anticipation swirling around them. What secrets would be uncovered if they dared to push further? "Don't let go," Lisa urged, clutching Samantha and Mark like lifelines in that endless void. But deep inside, a chilling uncertainty bloomed. What if their greatest fear was yet to come? What awaited them in that insatiable darkness? The darkness seemed alive, an entity thriving on their fear. Lisa's heart raced, pounding like a war drum in her chest. The voice echoed again, deeper, more menacing. "You fear what you do not understand." A chilling breeze swept through the chamber, freezing their breath. The tangible fear coiled around them, suffocating, almost like the shadows wanted to consume their hope alongside their despair. Suddenly, The fog began to swirl, forming shapes. It danced like a living tapestry of terror. And then, unmistakably, faces emerged, ghostly visages twisted in eternal anguish. Lisa struggled against the primal instinct to flee, forcing her feet to remain planted. They wouldn't let those lost souls grasp her family. "Don't look away," she cried, gripping Samantha tighter. "We are stronger than this." The dark figure shifted, its silhouette monstrous, feeding off their panic. "You think love will save you?" It hissed, the words dripping with contempt. "Love is a weakness and I will expose it." Mark clenched his jaw, fury igniting his resolve. "No, our love defines us," he shouted, eyes blazing. "It holds us together. You can't take that away." But the shadows twitched, slithering toward them like serpents. The faces twisted, their mouths moving, barely audible cries reaching out to the family pleas for release, for redemption from whatever chains bound them. Shadows stretched out, clawing towards Mark and Samantha, each fingertip tipped with despair. "What do you want from us?" Samantha whimpered, her voice wavering. "Your deepest regrets, your blinding fears." The creature roared, the echoes filling the expansive void, taunting them with specters of loss and missed moments. Lights on the altar flickered, battling against the oppressive gloom. Lisa's mind raced. Could she summon enough memories? She dove into the bubble of love that surrounded them, drawing strength from every moment of joy, their family vacations, bedtime stories, laughter echoing in their home. "Think of the happy times," she urged, her voice a fragile thread of hope in the storm. The air thickened again, wrapped in foreboding. The faces twisted more violently, the shadows swirling into a frenzy. A chilling realization hit her: these were souls trapped, feeding off others' pain. "Release them," Lisa yelled. "Let them go." Mark's grip tightened, their love surfacing as their shield. "You don't define us," he added, steady and firm. "We are more than what we regret." The ground trembled again, each crack radiating heat as they declared their truth. The altar shifted, glowing ever brighter as the power of their memories surged forward, flooding the darkness with light. But in that moment of bright defiance, a chilling laugh erupted from the depths. "You cannot hide from the truth. Every secret you've buried will be brought forth." The voice was intoxicating with dread, an insidious echo rattling within their minds. Lisa felt the shadows tugging at her, whispering dark secrets meant to unravel their resolve. Isolated memories flashed before her. Mistakes, words unsaid, love lost. The air grew dense with each pain surfacing, every regret spilling forth like a forgotten nightmare. "Keep it together," Mark shouted, urgency lacing his words as he struggled against the tide of darkness. There was a flash, and the light flickered one last time, then silence. The oppressive fog receded just long enough to catch a glimpse of the altar glowing with dangerous intensity. "What is that?" Samantha gasped, pointing at a swirling shape forming above an outline of something ominous, yet captivating. A radiant spark danced in the air, twisting and curling in appalling beauty, and Lisa's heart thudded, caught between wonder and dread. Shadows thrashed around them, retreating from the light. Then, with an eruption that rattled the very air they breathed, a vision coalesced above them. What remained in its depths was both invitation and warning, a door to understanding or a plunge into deeper despair. "Never forget," the echoing voice warned. "What you think you know may lead to darker truths, the weight of despair returning." Crushed down on them as they grasped hands tighter, the flickering hope hanging on a thread. What lurked behind that shimmering veil? Would they continue to fight, or would the shadows claim them in the end? The air crackled with a thick tension. Lisa's heartbeat echoed in her ears, drowning out the chilling whispers that clawed at her mind. The vision above twisted into something grotesque, a silhouette that seemed to watch them with mocking intent. "What do we do?" Samantha's voice trembled. Fear painted her pale face. "Trust the light," Mark shouted, stepping forward as if to confront the impossible. "It's our chance. Hold on to each other." The swirling shapes seemed to shift, angry now, as if they realized their hold was fading. Despair clawed at Lisa's throat, threatening to choke her. She glanced up, drawn inexorably toward the radiant figure. What if it held the truth they desperately needed but feared to face? Face your darkest truths. The voice roared, growing fainter as the light grew closer. Be ready to lose everything. Suddenly, the faces of the souls twisted together into a single entity. An anguished scream reverberated, vibrating through the ground beneath them. It was a sound that reached into the very core of their being, ripping at the thin veil of hope. Mark's expression hardened, his resolve rising with the shadows. I won't let it take us, he shouted, fearless. But Lisa felt the darkness still pulling at her, an icy grip squeezing her heart. The memories it invoked surged up, raw and vivid, a lost childhood, a betrayal, a love not pursued. Each regret was a dagger. Each moment a wound opened anew. What if it's the truth we can't handle? She whispered, her voice barely escaping her lips. Then it's something we have to face together, Mark replied, grabbing her shoulders, his eyes fierce. We can't let them win. The swirling light intensified, pushing back the shadows, but only just. The ghastly faces seemed to howl in agony, a cacophony of despair resonating through the chamber. Suddenly, the air shifted, filling with urgency and a musty scent of decay. Step through it, the voice urged, echoing with sly menace. Let go of the past or be consumed by it. Samantha clung to Lisa, her breath hitching. I can't. What if we lose ourselves? We have to believe, Lisa insisted, the fire of determination igniting within her. If we face it, we can escape. With a hesitant nod, they edged closer to the brilliant light, forming a tight circle, each holding onto the other. On 3, Mark counted, his voice steadying them. 1, 2, 3. They stepped forward together and everything changed. The light enveloped them in a dazzling embrace, a whirlwind of color and memory crashing against their minds. They tumbled through a vortex of time, a kaleidoscope of laughter, loss, and love. In a flash, Lisa witnessed visions. A fragile moment of her father's final breath. A night where she chose pride over reconciliation with a friend. The haunting whispers of her oldest regrets echoing in a haunting chorus. Reality warped, the darkness flickering at the edges, clawing back with furious desperation. Fight through it, Mark roared, his face strained. As they closed their eyes, Lisa felt the warmth of the light consume her. But just as hope started to fill her, the chorus shifted, laughter turned to chaos. Do you think you can escape? The voice shrieked, a violent wind raking through them. You have no idea what awaits. The pressure was unbearable, the weight of dread crashing down like boulders on their chests. Their thoughts spiraled into madness, visions of things unseen blossoming anew, twisting their insides into knots of despair. And then it happened. They fell. Darkness swallowed them whole as they screamed, the light extinguishing into nothingness. As stillness took hold, a dim glimmer beckoned from the void, but its essence was dark, dripping with sinister intent. What is that? Samantha gasped, her eyes wide. Lisa felt the chill creep up her spine. I don't know, but we have to find out. The silence that followed was deafening, pregnant with the terror of unknown horrors. Shadows lurked, slithering back to claim what they thought was theirs. In that moment, a whisper curled around them, insidious as smoke. You think you've escaped? The truth is, watching what awaited them in the darkness. Would they find the strength to uncover the truth, or would they vanish into the abyss, forever lost? The air was heavy with an eerie silence as the Johnson family braced themselves for what was to come. The swirling darkness remained a taunting specter, whispering secrets they had long buried. Lisa gripped her daughter's hand tighter, a steadfast anchor in the fury of chaos. The lingering chill brought with it uncertainty, but they had no choice but to push forward. Together, Mark said, his voice steady. We fight back. We are more than our fears. With renewed resolve, the family stepped deeper into the darkness, each heartbeat echoing like a war drum. The shadows pulsed, creeping closer, their forms shifting and bending like smoke. Lisa could feel the icy breath of the malevolent presence behind them, enigmatic, patient, and waiting. What if it's too much? Samantha whispered, her small voice tinged with uncertainty. "Whatever happens, we stay together," Mark shouted, matching her trepidation with unwavering determination as they moved forward. Remembered laughter echoed in Lisa's mind, fleeting and tantalizing. The smell of warm cookies, the sound of shared stories under starlit skies brought flashes of brightness against the encroaching black. It was in those memories that their strength lay. Suddenly, the shadows coiled around them like hands dragging them downward. "You think you can escape?" a voice roared, vibrating through their chests. "You are chained by the very regrets you refuse to confront." "No!" Lisa screamed, fire igniting in her veins. "We want to be your playthings." Mark surged forward, pulling Lisa and Samantha along. "We have to face whatever this is. We have each other, nothing can break that bond." And just like that, the shadows began to retreat, sensing their combined defiance. For every painful regret that surfaced, a flicker of joy pushed back, illuminating their way. "Look," Samantha cried, eyes wide. Ahead, where the darkness thinned, a shimmering light beckoned a gateway that promised freedom. "Stay strong," Mark urged, and without a second thought, they sprinted toward the light as they neared the threshold. The laughter transformed, morphing from sinister haunts to joyous symphonies. It felt like a delicate thread weaving through the fabric of their spirit. But the shadows lunged, their screams echoing, desperate to pull them back into despair. "You will never escape." Twisted whispers intertwined with their thoughts, attempting to smother their resolve. But they were ready. With one united shout, they pushed through. "We are not afraid." The moment they collided with the light, time seemed to stutter, zippering up the chaos behind them as warmth enveloped each one of them. An overwhelming sensation filled Lisa's heart, a surge of unconditional love that pulsed through her veins. It was an explosion of color and sound, the memories that had kept them alive. Samantha began to laugh, a sweet sound that rang like bells through the skies. Mark beamed at his daughter, his unwavering belief shimmering like the sun breaking through clouds. Lisa glanced around, relief washing over her. The light illuminated faces, familiar joys, friends and loved ones lost, smiling as if saying, "You've found your way." With one final blow of luminous energy, the darkness screamed, tearing apart like a paper-thin veil. The last remnant of its grip evaporated, and the shadow figures, long imprisoned, dissipated into the glow. They stood on the threshold of a new dawn. The house that had once felt like a prison, now a distant memory, a place unwritten and freed from the binds of darkness. Samantha squeezed her mother's hand. "We did it." Tears glimmered in Lisa's eyes as she pulled her daughter close. "Yes, sweetheart. We did it together." Mark grinned, leaning in to embrace them both, his heart swelling with pride. "We faced what scared us the most, and love conquered it all." As the sun rose beyond the horizon, the golden light spilled over the landscape like a vibrant blanket, washing over them. The air felt different, clean and alive. They were free to create new memories, new joys, where laughter could flourish once more. "Let us go home," Lisa said, her voice steady and bright. Together, they stepped forward toward a future where the symbols of their love carved deeper pathways into the stories yet to unfold. This was their moment, a reminder that through courage, love, and unity, they embraced the darkness and chosen the light. Now, as you've reached this chilling conclusion, don't leave without taking action. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support means the world. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this incredible tale. Let us keep this amazing community growing together.